Justice is indivisible. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
If any words that I have spoken have commanded attention, that is only because they find an echo in the breasts of those of every land and of every race who love freedom and are the foes of tyranny.
You are not our queens. You are not our kings. You are not our gods. We do not belong to you. We are not your slaves. We stand as free humans that stood from the beginning of time against the strong men.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Speaker's Corner Online. I am your host, Manny Cinder. Good evening, and I have my co-host, who's an alcoholic communist libtard, and we love him nonetheless, Banksy Style.
Howdy.
How'd you like that intro, Banksy?
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
I missed that one title though. I missed out Evidence Denier. And what are you drinking today to make sure you ignore more things that are staring?
I'm actually having tea, thank you.
Tea?
Yes, it is a combination of teas.
What?
Matcha green, herbal berries, blueberry and another berry mix, vitamin C tea, which has a combination of different vitamin C citrus fruit, plus a combination tea which is meant to be very good for people with diabetes. It lowers blood sugar level. I'm not really sure what the mixture in that one is. I haven't looked it up. Yeah, that's the combo tea that I'm having. Oh, also it increases cognitive abilities and nootropics.
Right.
So, yeah.
And well, that's interesting. Thanks for that. Or you can just go out and get yourself a multivitamin and not have to listen to a man wearing a stolen hat and stolen sunglasses and blatantly copying my style of shirts.
Oh, yeah. This is your style of shirts. I haven't even seen you wear one of these. Anyway, whatever.
Damn right you haven't. I said I got style.
I'm amazed. I'm amazed that you, with your conspiratorial mindset, will trust a simple multivitamin tablet. You do know that they are useless at actually providing any form of benefit because most of them contain very little of active ingredients of the vitamins that they claim.
You see, an evidence denier such as yourself would only think that because they're not really looking at proper vitamins. Proper vitamins need to be plant derived, not lab created. So when, for example, let's take hold up. Now you got me started, right? So let's take cancer patients, for example, when they're low on, say, magnesium and vitamin D. What do you think they give them? Do you think they give them I don't know, ivermectin, or do you think they inject them with the required vitamins and minerals? It's obviously the latter. In fact, on the note of cancer, every single cancer patient is deprived of vitamin D. So the core, the main vitamin that the body needs to be without in order for cancer to grow is vitamin D, from my research. What do you think of that, Banksy? Oh, Dr. Banksy Style, evidence denier. Tell me one more thing, because obviously you're a fan of Dr. Fauci, who is science, Dr. Science himself. What's your opinion about Dr. Science?
Oh, Fauci. Well, let's put it this way. Fauci thought that back in the 80s, I forgot about exactly what it was. Something about, damn it, I forgot exactly. But some ridiculous pseudoscience about children getting AIDS from touching, I don't know, gay people or something ridiculous like that. Anyway, he was promoting very, very bad science towards how HIV and AIDS is contracted. So no, I don't.
Do you
have a
not
lot
find
of,
it interesting that he was head of the AIDS research, HIV
Yeah,
research
exactly.
in
That's why it was
America,
so bad that he
and
was making
and
these
and
bad
the COVID
predictions.
jab also equates to diminishing the immune system like an AIDS patient. Do you not find
No,
that
it
kind of?
doesn't. What does when does the when have you ever read that the corona reduces T cells or white blood cells?
How have you not read that?
It doesn't. It doesn't affect the white blood cells.
Bear
It
with me
affects
one.
the respiratory system.
Bear with me
You
just 1 second.
Oh God, here we go, dude. Let's just delve into your other pseudoscientific concepts. I just want to cover. I just want to talk about Jesse Smollett's little outburst in church. So can I
Okay,
can I
let me
cover
just share
that while
one
you
thing for
try to
you.
desperately fill the audience heads with basically pseudoscientific nonsense and pretend that this is in any way factual? Look,
Bear
you
with
can
me
tell
just
them
1
that the moon is made out of cheese. I'm sure I've talked about
I didn't say cheese. I said paneer.
which is cheese in
No,
Hindu. It's actually
it's
paneer
a
is the
type.
same in
It's a
Iranian.
type of cheese. It's not cheese from wherever
Actually,
I come from.
paneer in Iranian is just cheese. All types of cheese is paneer.
So do you know the doctor or the researcher that Wendy follows? He's confirmed this. So this was the article that that
About what?
brought it to my attention.
This is AIDS. It's nothing to do with corona. You said it was coronavirus that attacks the
Yeah,
white
yeah,
blood
you have
cells.
to read the whole article. Anyway, so the UK Health Security Agency showed that triple vaccinated people have now lost 70% of their immune system.
That's not corona though. You said coronavirus attacks the
The vaccine.
no. You said corona
No, no,
attacks
you may.
lowers the immune
I,
system.
no, but you may have misheard me, or may not have said it very clearly. But that's exactly what I
I'm
meant.
so glad that this is recorded so we can rewind and then
Yeah, yeah, sure. No, no.
review.
Even if that's what I uttered, this is exactly what I meant. I mean, this is look, it's an immune deficiency. But do you know, I'm just getting a message saying that we're not really supposed to be talking about this. They'll give us a strike. But perhaps we can revisit this. But this article is Daily Expose, and this is the title. You guys can look it up. And as with all good articles, they do have the links and the screen grabs of the data from the UK Gov, so you guys can all verify the discussion, what we're having, and we're not really making it up. But anyway, that was a side subject. Mr. Banksy Style, please take us away with your first presentation.
All right. Well, I mean, this is just a simple point of discussion. We can then discuss afterwards. This is the case of Juicy Smollett as Mr. Oh my God, what's that comedian's name? Christ, forgot the comedian's name.
Come on, Banksy, spit it out.
I know, I freaking forgot. Anyway, some black comedian talked about Chappelle, Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle talked about this individual, Jesse Smollett. Jesse Smollett, for those who don't know, who've been living under a rock for about 4 years, was accused or is on trial for faking a hate crime. So this man paid 2 large Nigerian bodybuilders to attack him at night in Chicago, Illinois, supposedly making out that this was a white, racist MAGA Trump supporters,
Republican right-wing conservative.
yeah, that were gonna put a noose around his neck, and basically like the most pathetically obvious 1940s or 1950s style lynching in like the South, in like Mississippi or Alabama. It was like the most obviously fake scenario, and it was so cliche.
And talking of left wingers calling out calling conservatives racist. We actually do have a genuine left winger joining us in exactly 15, 16, 17 minutes. Lister, who is very famous at Speaker's Corner. So stay tuned from that. Banksy, like, give us the lowdown so we can rip into this Smollett guy.
Yeah, basically he faked his own hate crime, trying to get some headlines, trying to get some attraction, trying to get some, I guess, I don't know, higher profile so he can get better TV and movie roles, because he's an actor that plays in a show called Empire. Apparently it's a good show. I haven't, I'll be honest, seen it myself. So he faked his own hate crime. He then was subsequently found out for it, humiliated, but of course, this was a crime because he actually wasted police time and effort, and he lied to the police under oath about these events. And so this portion that I'm about to show you is actually the last few minutes of a 40-minute chastisement by the judge as he finds him guilty and sentences him.
Does Smollett cry like a little girl?
Well, this is exactly what I want to show, is Jussie Smollett's Jesse Smollett's reaction to being found guilty unequivocally. I mean, it was so hilariously obvious, and all the evidence came forward that he set all of this up himself, and yet this is his reaction to it, which I think for most people is remarkable. So I'm just going to play this clip.
I'm not suicidal. That's what I would like to say. Okay. I'm not suicidal. Okay. I am not suicidal. I am innocent, and I am not suicidal. If I did this, then it means that I stuck my fist in the fears of Black Americans in this country for over 400 years and the fears of the LGBTQ community. Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this. And I am not suicidal. And if anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself. And you must all know that. I respect you, Your Honor. I respect your decision. Jail time.
The reason he's a little bit miffed as well is also because he was given 150 days in county jail, so he's going straight from this court.
Days or gays?
Days, D-A-Y-S. 150 days, which is about 5 months. In county jail. Now, he could have got anything up to 15 years in prison for this, because he was found guilty 5 out of 6 charges that were brought before him. He was found guilty of 5 of those, each carrying 3 years prison sentence consistently. So he would have got 3. He could have potentially got 3 years for each count, so 5 times 3. So he could have easily been in prison for 15 years plus if the judge wanted to really nail him to the wall for this. The judge was incredibly lenient and was incredibly on his side. 40 minutes of this judge's, if you like, talking to the judge sort of gave him a bit of a talking to. 40 minutes out of that 40 minutes, a good 30 minutes of it was just the judge saying how wonderful he is and how much of a social justice activist he is and how his family think he's awesome and he's brilliant and blah blah. I was like, at one point I was like, Judge, are you kissing his ass? I mean, what is going on here? The judge wanted to so be on his side and let him off that, in all honesty, this was, I think, the minimum the judge could possibly do in order to not look like that he's actually just completely ignoring the law. So the judge was really on his side a lot, and he was still pissed that he's going to jail for 150 days. He was still upset about that.
And I actually read a day or so later, after this trial had concluded, that he was going to get special protection inside the prison.
Well, this is why he makes this little sort of show about it, is because he wants to make out that he's going to be some kind of, I don't know, he's some sort of Jeffrey Epstein or something, that he's giving away some kind of deep secret, and that they're gonna try and kill him in jail. And this is some nonsense showmanship. Again, I think the judge should have nailed him for this as well. Afterwards, she should have made him sit down and then increased it to 160 days instead of 150 for just this little outburst. But nevertheless, the judge just let this one go completely and let him have his little theatrical moment in court. But yeah, and the irony is that I think that Empire thing is about lawyers and law and stuff as well. I'm not sure, but I think it involves courtroom drama. But either way, I just want to finish this up because this little drama session hasn't finished yet.
Mr. Uche, let me inquire, are there any post-sentencing motions you care to present right now?
Yes, Judge.
Yes.
The defense would wish to present a motion to reconsider sentence.
Reserved for purposes of appeal, motion to reconsider sentences respectively denied. And is there another, one second, anything else? Just a second. Is there going to be a notice of appeal filed?
Yes, Judge. We found a notice of appeal. We're going to be emailing to the clerk right now.
Yeah, it looks like it's not going to show us the end bit because there is a bit where he's walking away and he starts putting his fist in the air and he's like he's some sort of Black Power moment. Actually, this might actually.
But let's go to the courtroom now.
Oh, let me see. Oh Christ, this is the whole shebang. There we go.
Okay. All right. Any other matters to come before the court today? All right. Defendants remanded to the custody of sheriff. Court is adjourned.
I am not suicidal.
Stop laughing about Black.
I am not suicidal, and I am innocent. I could have said that I was guilty a long time ago.
He's still a bad actor, even at this moment. So anyway, that's it. That's my little moment on that one. Yeah, discuss. I mean, first and foremost, the fact that the climate of, especially the United States, has become such a toxic environment that, victimhood being a virtue is just the most appalling thing that I've seen that has come about in the last, easily in the last 10, 20 years, especially through social media. And I think it's come about because of, I'm going to just say it, because of mostly women and feminists crying on the internet because they were being bullied. I said, I can't believe people are bullying me online because the women, you see, when the normies, and especially when women discovered the internet, they didn't realize this was largely a male-dominated sphere. Just like games, video games, video games has been dominated by men because men are the only ones that give a shit about video games for a long time. Women started coming into it in the last 20 years at best. And they started complaining about why video games appeal to men more than women. I mean, this was what the Gamergate started back in like 2013, where women started, especially feminists, started complaining about games being largely appealing to men.
Yeah. You
sound forward.
You basically sound like a MGTOW.
No. Let me explain
to men what feminism is to women.
No. Let me explain. Okay, whatever. But let me explain what I mean about this whole trend. This is what I'm trying to explain. The trend that came about. As women complained about how bullying and how things are unfair and men are just terrible online, social media companies and social media became prevalent. They all started to cater to the people who were complaining victimhood. And then a trend of being a victim became a virtue. And that's what emerged out of this era of social media with Facebook and YouTube and et cetera, is whenever you complain you're a victim, people
it's all
realize
left-wing politics. It's all
people realize that other people are going to cater to you. They're going to bow down to you. Social media companies are going to cater to your whim. Advertising companies are going to cater to your whim. So people started to figure out, especially those who want to take advantage of being a victim, that complaining and being a victim and playing the part of the victim is now financially advantageous.
Yeah.
So
All right, before you start giving us a lecture about your left-wing politics, let's get up through two more subjects before Lister comes on. So this is a little surprise for you, Banksy.
Scientists to trial desperate measures, manipulating the Earth's natural systems to avoid catastrophe.
Dude, you already played this last time.
So we've been spraying for about an hour now, and we've started to see here, you could see our plume building up, and we've got that cloud layer that's just above 500 metres there.
5 hours off the coast of Queensland, a team of scientists led by oceanographer Dan Harrison are trialling a concept that one day could create a cooling shade over these precious habitats.
Yeah, you can see the plume building up out there.
It's known as cloud brightening, involving the spray of seawater into the air, leaving tiny salt crystals suspended in the clouds. In theory, the clouds become thicker and able to reflect more heat away. Dan's work is focused solely on the reef, but the results here will be watched by other scientists with ambitions to use the technology in areas like the Arctic to slow down the melting of the polar ice.
We have clouds.
But geoengineering on this scale would be highly contentious and risks undesirable consequences.
You all right?
No, I'm not.
Right, so I've actually managed to find my old server on my old research. So I've actually got all the research that we're gonna need to try and convince you. But what I'm gonna do every week, my dear friend Banksy, I'm gonna introduce you, get you closer and closer. So the first week we shared some interesting images about chemtrails, and you called them chemtrails, and you said they were actually chemtrails, not even chemtrails. And the fact that a pilot was willing to discuss them, you said no, it was not proof. And I thought that was pretty good in the end, actually. So last week we had a speech from the CIA director stating that geoengineering is going on, including the use of aeroplanes. But again, it was all very research orientated and not that obvious proof. So today I just wanted to take you to the bottom level of the proof, where we could see without an aeroplane that how things are getting on the research side of it. And then next week we'll get you closer, and by the end of it you shall lead a protest in London against geoengineering, weather modification, and yes, chemtrails. Banksy, what do you think of that video, mate?
Well, first of all, the video proves nothing, because it actually just simply states what we stated before, which is about salt water, about seawater, which we already discussed in previous things. Second of all, I see these as very underhanded sort of tactics of trying to somehow force something, when we actually said that we would hold a debate between you, me, Raj and Hassan, maybe an afternoon lunchtime debate, where we would all come with our evidence or our knowledge and understanding of these chemtrails, whatever the hell they are.
I'll be honest.
Geoengineering, and the thing is, this is.
I'll be honest with you. Let me interject. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't do this type of. I'm not going to show it to you before we play it with anybody, because you are very good at thinking on your feet, and you're gonna more times than not be balanced. Not obviously not always, but you are human at the end of the day. That's why I'm able to do this, because we certainly get on, and we're not really going to be too ruthless with each other. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if it was a serious debate, I mean, like I've said before, I'm neutral in the position anyway. I don't have a horse in this race, but I just find it interesting how generally, as society, we tend to shut the opposing argument down before we even get to the crux of it. And I'm not just talking about chemtrails and geoengineering and all that stuff. I'm talking about a lot of subjects. I just find that part of society very interesting.
Yeah.
On which note, I like to share this.
Okay, let's go.
If you had a bunch of chemicals and you built a tower, could you make it rain?
No.
By the way, this is from the 1990s.
That's tonight's weird weather.
In the early 1900s, there was a gentleman who said he could make it rain. Charles M. Hatfield. Well, he said for $50, he could deliver. Well, Los Angeles farmers said, we need rain. Will you make it rain? He did. And they were so happy, they paid him $100. Well, there was a lake in the area, Lake Hemet. He said for $4,000, he could deliver 4 inches of rain. So he made this tower and he mixed up some chemicals. Guess what? 11 inches of rain fell and it rose 22 feet. Operators say it was the best bargain they'd ever had. There was another
that
area
video is actually available on Speaker's Corner online. If you want to watch it, you can search for Rainmaker or whatever they put it under. But I just wanted to share that. I just find it interesting about that. So are we, did you want anything to say, or shall I share the next subject? Thanks.
Well, the only thing I'd like to say about that is it's funny how in the 50s, when was it? When was the time?
Early 1990s.
That Rainmaker guy. That wasn't early 1990s. That was
They said the 19th century, didn't they?
Yeah,
but yeah,
okay.
I mean,
But
it was
yeah,
whenever black and white photographs were
let's say
around.
sometime in the black and white photo days, some man was able to make rain, and yet we have raging fires in Australia. We had raging fires in the the Amazon forests, and raging fires in Los Angeles almost on a yearly basis, and none of these rainmakers are coming out to make rain for these places which are dry and raging with forest fires. Isn't that funny?
You do know that the Saudi Arabian and UAE have employed rainmakers to make it rain in their region, right? You do know that.
Again, asking a question about an entire different thing isn't answering my question. That's just diversion.
No, but I'm not control of any country. Certainly not Australia. My point, I'm deciphering from what you're saying that if they can do this, then why don't they use it for the betterment? I'm saying that in some countries they do.
Well, yeah, but the fact is that you're simply stating that, again, we need to see the evidence that these rainmakers have actually been successful. And that is, if that is the case, if that is absolutely true, that these things work every time, then you would think that I even see Purple Effects that saying, yeah, no mention of any the droughts in Africa, which happens yearly. No rainmakers are going there to make rain for them. No rainmakers. I mean, even if you get, you say, okay, screw the Africans, they're poor, we don't give a crap about them. How about the Beverly Hills of Los Angeles? I think the Beverly Hills of Los Angeles are important enough to keep so that those fires will not burn down houses of millionaires, and yet millionaires are unable to hire rainmakers to make rain for them.
But listen to what you're saying. Your argument is basically because certain countries who you deem, and I would as well, need of, for in this case, rain, though we don't know exactly what the chemtrails could be about. But in this case, rain, why aren't they using it? Well, I'm saying, well, richer countries, for example, Dubai and UAE, and even China, you can even Google this, Beijing Olympics, China brings down rain of clouds, and their example, it's just what depends on,
well, as I
if
said,
your memory goes back.
Those.
Sorry, it's all about
I
science.
Contest them as being bollocks. I think you are just simply picking out things which probably, when you actually look into them, find that there's nothing of the sort. I think you're just simply clinging on to very vague evidence of anything valuable.
Fine. Okay, that's fine. I could be, but however, can you see how you're refusing to entertain anything, and you're rubbishing it before you've even looked into it yourself?
I'm happy to. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm happy to take your evidence of Saudi Arabia employing rainmakers, and if these things are actually provable, because this is the same as pseudoscientific people who talk about crystals have healing powers or homeopathy or any of this other bollocks. The fact is that if these things worked, then they would be demonstrable over and over again. If clairvoyants could see into the future, or if they could actually, see into the other realms, then most of these people would be multi-millionaires, lottery winners. How is it that these clairvoyants that see the future never seem to win the lottery, and yet they supposedly see the future? These people who talk to the dead never really talk to anyone of any significance. They don't ever come forward and say, oh, this is Einstein's new ideas, because up in heaven he's been coming up with new formulas. Nothing of tangible things. They've only been coming up with pseudoscientific bollocks.
So here's USA Today with an article: United Arab Emirates parts with heat waves, blah blah blah. It's testing new technology to zap clouds with electricity to artificially create rain, and that was when they were testing. So if anybody,
again, this is a speculative article. It's not talking about that they actually did it. It's in fact talking about zapping electricity into clouds. Nothing to do with chemtrails or putting chemicals into the atmosphere.
It's weather modification, different type of technology.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. You're like literally trying to make out as if these things are all related. That man in the 1900s, the rainmaker, has nothing to do with electricity in Saudi skies.
So here's
have they actually been successful?
By the Independent, categorically stating Dubai is making its own fake rain, right? So it's using drone technology, unleashes the point is that the technology has probably advanced. I mean, come on, if we were talking about, say, the 18th, 19th century from the first video we saw, technology is going to be advanced and they are going to use it. Anyway, your communist friend is late. So while you get,
is he not there?
He's not in the back chat. I do, before he comes on, I want to share some other things. So our lovely communist prime minister and his wife. There's been some interesting photographs coming out about his wife, which I thought, like, what? Apparently, she's a Satanist. This is her at university.
Who is this?
That's his Boris Johnson's wife, whatever her name is.
Oh, this is Boris Johnson's wife.
Yeah.
Well, that's your conservative friend, so that's all on you.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's not a genuine conservative.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like no true Scotsman fallacy, huh?
Yeah, something like that.
No true Scotsman.
And it's not. And this was broken also by this newspaper, I believe it's the Daily Mail. Let me bring this up. Don't know if people knew about this. Boris's beach blonde X-rated play, glamorous PR guru, Carrie Simmons, 30, starring in a satanic sex cult based on writings on unabashed occultist.
I mean,
and one more image before you come in and give us your view.
That's if you actually believe in this bollocks. When I was a child, we also had little circles of seance and pretended to talk to the dead. Nothing ever happened. Nothing came of it, and it was all bollocks.
But look how fucked up you are, though.
Yes, that's what it is. Every kid, every young person who's ever watched Friday the 13th or any horror movie knows that they've at some point tried to create, hold a séance with the dead.
I don't know, man. I didn't do any of that.
It was just an excuse for boys and girls to get drunk, to sit in a circle and hold hands for a bit.
Yeah,
and then hopefully make out with the girl you're holding hands with.
Or any other age, actually. I just didn't do that. I mean, why would you want to communicate?
A lot of people did.
Any satanic beings. I suppose I'm a bit special. I'm not that fucked up.
You're definitely special. You're definitely special. I would say.
Yeah, but I'm special.
You were probably on that short bus when they were taking all the special kids home with the special ed lessons.
We're gonna get a strike for that.
Whilst the rest of us were trying to get laid in a séance.
Yeah.
Because all the boys were just using that as an excuse to turn off the lights and see if they can make out with the girl next to them. Because that was literally the whole point of that.
Because there's loads of girls walking around in a round that want to make out, aren't they?
I grew up in Britain, thank you very much. my formative years of puberty and beyond were all in Britain.
While we're having a bit of a chinwag, where is your
school?
communist fellow?
I don't know. I'll be honest. I've texted Lister several times now, and the only contact I have from him is Twitter, unfortunately. So either he's not available or he's going to
flake
on us. Yeah, unfortunately, that's what it is with these young lads. I mean, we were supposed to have Pavlov on this one, and don't get me wrong, Pavlov has been incredibly remorseful. He's been texting me saying, "I'm so sorry, I'll make it up to you," and I've just sort of chilled and said, "That's fine, don't worry." I didn't want to.
It's not fine. You tell that Ukrainian Nazi to come on here and defend his.
Yeah, well, he's under pressure right now. Okay, there's a lot going on. His family are in eastern Ukraine as well.
Yeah,
I don't know if
he's shitting himself as he speaks the truth and he gets grilled about what his country and government's really up to.
But either way, and then Lister, I mean, it was only yesterday that I started the conversation with him about coming on. So I mean, he said he will do it. He said he should be able to do it. He's actually got a new video himself he wanted to plug. So I presumed he would have come just to plug his video, but I guess not, because he's just completely gone radio silent on us. He's not responded to anything I've sent him.
I spotted another video just to change the subject. So while we're waiting to see if the communists are going to send their number one hero Lister to defend their ideology, but I'm going to share a video. It just got my attention. You're going to love it because it's very conspiratorial. It just got my attention. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see it clearly enough. Maybe I'll share the screen like that. Let's
Wake
go.
up, you're being programmed. Are these all available on Speakers Corner Online?
Now, obviously, I mean, it's a bit far-fetched, but I did find it interesting. And ever since I saw that video, I've been seeing the similarities of COVID posters and Ukraine posters and images sharing the exact same colors. I mean, it was Dr. Robert Malone that broke the mass psychosis situation. So do you think there could be a case of mass psychosis and mass programming with this type of thing? Banksy, what's your view on it? How open are you to the possibility that the government are colluding?
How open I am? Government are colluding with what exactly?
A corporate globalist private enterprise and their leaders.
Well, I mean, we've known that that the corporations and the governments are in unison, if you like, for a long time now, haven't we? Because the fact is that the World Economic Forum, every time they go to these meetings, we see them there. They're all together. All the corporations are invited. All the government officials or heads of governments are invited. The World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab has declared that they are installing or instilling young people into these governments, into these different cabinets of different governments around the world, in order to ensure that their agenda is progressed. So this isn't like some massive surprise, at least to those who are aware of these things, who are aware of what's going on in the World Economic Forum meetings. So yeah, you want to see these collusions, then just keep an eye on, just watch the World Economic Forum. They're not even hiding it anymore. I think they've solidified their position to such an extent that they don't even need to hide this. They are just out there openly declaring it. Hold on. I've actually got something from Elon Musk, which I wanted to share myself.
Okay, while you find that, I'll just share this quickly. Barack Obama tweeted, I just tested. No, Barack, it's I've just tested positive for COVID. I've had a scratchy throat for a couple of days. Well, that might be down to Michael, but I am feeling fine otherwise. Michelle and I are grateful to be vaccinated and boosted, and she has tested negative. It's a reminder to get vaccinated if you haven't already, even as cases go down. So this rather hilarious gentleman, Jake Shields, basically deciphered what he said and broke it down as follows. And he replied to Barack Obama and he said, I got my girlfriend pregnant while wearing a Trojan condom, but thankful I was wearing a condom.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. This is a little thing from Mr. Musk here, which I think is awesome. Just if you could share my screen. And this is Elon Musk's recent tweet. I support the current thing. Because it kind of goes back to what you alluded to earlier with your video of all the different ways propaganda is the propagandizing the masses to agree with whatever it is they want to agree with. Right now, everybody has to support Ukraine unequivocally, without question, and this is basically it. The NCP is I support the current thing is literally what it is. You just have to just support whatever the current thing is. Doesn't matter whether that current thing is good or bad, or whether it has any nuance to it. Just support it, damn you. Just support it or you're a traitor. Do you know, I've actually got Tulsi Gabbard's statement about the labs in Ukraine. Do you know the biolabs in Ukraine, which are funded by the United States, which we're not supposed to know that they're funded by the United States, or even if we do know that they're funded by the United States, they're not really biolabs. They're just research labs, like every country in the world has research labs, except certain deadly pathogens could be released, and that is why the State Department of America is worried about this certain pathogens being released by these innocent research labs, because if they get released, they may or may not create yet another pandemic 10 times worse than the pandemic that we currently went through, because these pathogens are literally things like anthrax and smallpox weaponized, but none of that's going on, so let's ignore all of that. So yeah, I've got Tulsi Gabbard's actually, hold on. Let me not share my screen for a minute, because there's a whole host of other shit that I came across. Actually, maybe some of it I can show. Yeah, let me do it again. Mr. Manny. These are just a few little images that I have found in amongst the the Ukrainian military groups. These particular what do they call them? Battalions. There's the Israeli supporting battalions, and right alongside those Israeli. Oh, this is awesome! I just found this. I don't know what the hell this is.
Who is that?
This is Nicolas Cage's face. It's Nicolas Cage. Don't worry, let that one go. Yeah, those Israeli supporting battalions, right along with we don't need this thing, right along with the SS, but those are the SS flags up there, by the way, the former Nazi SS flags that we can see, those yellow ones, and they still want to tell us that the Ukraine, it's just a fringe. The Nazis are just a fringe group within Ukraine. It's not mainstream. And you see that little symbol on that man's chest, that circle, that's called the Black Sun. That is yet another Nazi symbol. That is, and these guys are literally sich heiling. I mean, it's not even like look at this. This is on the fucking front lines. This isn't 1940s image. This is 2022 image of literal Nazi fucking flags are flying on the front lines. I mean, you can't make this shit up. You just can't make this shit up. Look at this. The guy's firing an automatic weapon rather repeatedly with the swastika flying in the background. This isn't just a fringe thing. I know Pavlov, I mean, I'll be honest, Pavlov has been trying to make out that this is just a fringe sideline issue in Ukraine. These are not fringe. These are not fringe groups in.
Yeah, and I'll also like to add that we've already played a video, and that video is on Speakers Corner Online, that these Nazi groups have actually infiltrated and are part of political society in Ukraine.
Yeah, this is a police chief. It's a police chief who has the swastika tattooed in the back of his head. Now, by the way, this guy's account, I don't know, I can't read it's in a different language, so I can't read the things. You're not your average Nazi wedding. Everybody's heiling. I mean, come on.
Where's Ralph?
You can't make this bullshit up. It's unbelievable. Okay, now this is the Tulsi Gabbard message that she released being accused of being a traitor. By the way, this woman has served nearly 20 years in the U.S. military. She's a U.S. military veteran who then became a congresswoman, and now subsequently she's out of Congress. She was voted out. I don't know. I think she lost her seat on the last run. And this is what Mitt Romney tried to slander her by calling her a traitor to America. Mitt Romney, mind you, had 4 deferments from the Vietnam War. He couldn't get away from the Vietnam War fast enough and not ever, serve his country fast enough. She served her country for 20 years, and now that man is calling her a traitor. And this is the statement that she released.
Simply for stating the fact that there are over 25 U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine, which, if breached, would release and spread deadly pathogens across the United States and the world, and therefore they must be secured so that we can prevent any new pandemics from occurring. Now, bizarrely, you claim that securing these labs, or even calling for securing these labs, is treasonous and will lead to a loss of life, when the exact opposite is obviously true. The spread of pathogens is what will cause the loss of life, not the prevention of such a spread. So, Senator Romney, please provide evidence that what I've said is not true and treasonous. And if you cannot, you should do the honorable thing. Apologize. Resign from the U.S. Senate. Evidence of the existence of these biolabs in Ukraine, their vulnerability, and therefore the need to take immediate action to secure them is beyond dispute. Just the other day, the State Department's Victoria Nuland acknowledged that these labs that contain dangerous pathogens exist in Ukraine in her testimony to the U.S. Senate.
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can.
By the way, there are no such creatures as Ukrainians. No one's invaded anywhere.
Not even colonials.
There are no Ukrainians or crayons. There are Ukrainians. But let's not diminish this entire testimony by that one mistake.
On how they can prevent anything with the Ukrainians, on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
In a Pentagon fact sheet dated March 11th, there are numerous statements that both directly and indirectly confirm the existence of these biolabs. The United States, through BTRP, has invested approximately $200 million in Ukraine since 2005, supporting 46 Ukrainian laboratories, health facilities, and diagnostic sites. On CBS Face the Nation on March 13th, CBS national security correspondent David Martin said that he'd spoken to a Pentagon official just that morning who told him they're concerned about the existence of these biolabs in Ukraine.
The concern is that the Russians will seize one of these biomedical research facilities that Ukraine has, where they do research on deadly pathogens like botulism and anthrax.
I'm sorry, what was that? They're doing research facilities on what? Let's just go back a little bit. By the way, I just want everyone to know there are no wet markets anywhere near these labs in Ukraine. If shit goes wrong, don't blame it on the bats or the pangolins.
It's like botulism and anthrax. Seize one of those facilities, weaponize the pathogen, and then blame it on Ukraine and the U.S. because the U.S. has been providing support for some of the research being done in those facilities.
Now, in April of 2020, in refuting Russia's accusations that the U.S. was using biolabs in Ukraine to develop biological weapons, the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine acknowledged that there are U.S.-funded labs in Ukraine working with pathogens for vaccines and other peaceful purposes. In a CNN fact check on March 10th, 2022, there are U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine. That much is true. Furthermore, according to the DoD, there are 2 biolabs in Ukraine that have been under Russian control for quite some time. Russia illegally took possession of 2 Ukrainian-owned laboratories that BTRP upgraded in 2014 and continues to deny Ukrainian access to these facilities. So, Senator Romney, you have a choice. Out of pride, continue to deny the truth, or admit that you're wrong, apologize, and resign. Aloha. And remember that without the truth, we can be neither safe nor free.
Don't you just love this woman? Apart from the fact that she's hot as fucking hell and she's rocking that white hair that's coming out of the front there. She's like, she got that rogue shit going on. I don't know if you guys have seen X-Men, the first one, Rogue. Yeah, she had that. Don't get me wrong, she is very easy on the eyes. But nevertheless, yeah, go ahead, Manny. What do you think?
I've seen that video. Just mute this. So yeah, I've seen that video. I do know a little bit about that lady. She's she's awesome, great speaker, speaks the truth, and she's only reiterating what we've known for a good while now, way before Russia even invaded Ukraine. There was information about their biolabs being there, and one of the reasons why Putin wanted to invade. But on that note, I'd like to share a video, 2 videos actually. One of them is 15 minutes long, so we're not going to watch all of it. I'm just going to skip through it. However, it is a video of a British chap going over to Ukraine earlier on, about a week ago, just to check out if Ukraine actually matched the description and the imagery that we were seeing on TV by the media. Very interesting. So I don't know if anyone saw it. That said March the 3rd, 2022. He's just showing the Metro newspaper on his way there. So I'm just going to forward it until he gets to Ukraine. So maybe not that far. So he just reached the train station of an area called Primyzel. I think that's the way it's done. So that's a train station in Ukraine. And this is what he has to say about it. At the top it says, lights, camera, action, the train station, a well-planned stage, managed route ensures the Ukrainians arriving are bottlenecked and compressed into the ticket hall so the media can create the illusion of hell on earth. I'll stop this so you can read it. He said, it's the same statement, but he's showing it from a different angle. This is outside, and he states here, visual effects are key. Outside the refugee train station, police vehicles leave their lights flashing. Every 20 minutes, the sirens turn on and the vehicle does a loop around the block. So he's now taken to a front of the train station, and it says stage management, the video village of Premzil. Here we find the director and producer of the refugee movie. All stage photographs need good lighting. So he's basically showing how the whole area has been turned into essentially what he sees as a film set. So here's it during the day. And he obviously unlike what the media reports are saying, there doesn't seem to be lines and lines of people trying to leave. I'll just pause it and read this out. I'm unable to find a hostel or hotel full of refugees, you ask. No, all the hotels in this town are taken up by the press, while these scumbags sleep in luxury. Poor Ukrainians are left to sleep at the railway station, creating more staged photo opportunities for the press. So now he's walked 1 minute away from the town centre, and he says that life is very normal. You will see shortly. So this is how people are treated. He's saying that you can see how perfectly fine doors are blocked by signs, and volunteers, which he calls stagehands, are bottlenecking everybody through one door. The camera crew set up to capture this manufacturing chaos. It's supposed to be manufactured chaos for the camera. So this is very interesting. So this he's going to say in a second. Well, he's going to write that this chap here is actually claiming he's going to fight in a war, but as you'll see, he's essentially just posing for the camera, but using real people as backdrop, as a backdrop. I mean, look at him. He's a beta male. You think he's really going to go to war? So now he's going deeper into Ukraine towards the capital. We'll show the empty train in a second. So let's forward it a little bit. So now he's arrived at the other train station. A bit more people. He said the railway station, he said there was a curfew on, meaning travellers can't leave the station and are forced to participate in a fully immersive 4D crisis. So, I mean, this video is on Speaker's Corner online. You can find it, you can watch it. He claims that he couldn't find the war that was being portrayed,
taking shelter with,
and he even called this lady that came on the BBC as a complete and utter liar. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting. We don't know how true it is, but there you go. What do you reckon? What do you reckon? How much of that seemed like true to you?
Well, I mean, the funny thing is, if you actually look on YouTube, you can find there are several channels who have multiple cameras, street cameras of Kiev and other places. Mostly the ones I've seen are of Kiev, and they are completely empty. There's like nothing going on. Like, I mean, admittedly, it looks like when we were all in lockdown, it doesn't look like. But there's no shelling. There's no. I've never seen, and I've watched. I mean, I know it sounds sad, but I've actually had it on like a second screen whilst I'm watching something else, just in case there's a plane, a jet, or a bomb or something happens. You know what I mean? Because you can't say that nothing happens. Something's going to happen every second. So you turn it on and you kind of leave it a good hour to see if something happens. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, nothing happened. Nothing. It was like dead. It was dead.
We've been joined by Lister, believe it or not. So
are you joking me?
Let's see if it's really him.
It's got to be.
Hi, Lister. Is that you?
Hello. I apologize. I'm late.
You're like the show's over late.
How dare you, Lister, come so late on a Conservative panel? What's going on?
What happened, dude? Were you working?
No, I just got caught up.
With weed?
I thought you started at 6, so I checked the Twitter messages, and then it was like 8 o'clock, and then all of a sudden, I just got caught up with someone else, and time ran away from me.
Oh man, it's
No
hard to keep
problem.
track
Anyway,
when you
we're
blunt it
glad
that
you
hard.
can make it now. Better late than never, as they say.
Yeah, let's
Are
just
we?
do an extended show, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. Are you ready to rock and roll? Can we throw some questions at you?
Sure, go for it.
Have you watched any of the previous shows before, Lister?
I've watched bits and pieces, but not a lot. I have to admit.
So essentially, what we do, we bring in certain guests every week, different opinions, different political stances, and we go through what we call a grilling, which is basically a loads of questions, all shared in good humor, and the idea is basically to ask you tricky questions and see how you go. It's not really done with any malice, though of course we may try and pretend there's malice involved. So that's what we do. But I'm going to read out a statement. So this is what we always do. We read a statement to every guest and then we'll start. So it's: dear guest, you're about to be grilled by the host. You do not have to participate. However, you will be ridiculed in your absence. You do not have to answer any of the questions. However, the host reserves the right to call you a communist Hitler if you do not. If you have any delicate feelings, then your safe word is, I'm a fascist, get me out of here, and the questions will stop. Warning, you're about to enter a hostile environment. The opinions and questions do not represent the channel, owners, Speakers Corner Online, or the host. They are designed to test your mental endurance. Lister, are you ready to start, or would you like to declare yourself a Chinese spy?
I'm ready.
Excellent. Good to hear it. So, Lister, why the hell do you go to a lot of these Tommy Robinson events? And I've seen you there myself. What do you not like about people coming together and trying to protect children from being gang raped?
I don't think that's what they're doing. That's what they might think that they're doing. However, Tommy Robinson is using child sexual exploitation for him to grift off. There's plenty more people who are doing a lot more to protect women and girls from grooming. People like Nazir Afzal, Pakistani Muslim lawyer, who's actually locked some of these people up, the victims themselves, and
but whether or not Tommy Robinson is doing the best job possible,
Cockbain as well. Sorry.
But whether or not you think Tommy Robinson is doing the best job possible, he's still bringing a lot of light onto the matter. He is making the whole situation, more mainstream. I mean, before Tommy Robinson, it was generally only the Sikh community that was aware of the Muslim grooming gangs. I mean, at least coming forward and making it a more outspoken topic. Would you not agree with that?
The problem is with the people that support Tommy Robinson, there's a lot of people who exploit girls, women, and children within his own movement that he doesn't speak out about.
Like who?
There's plenty of people. You can just look up Tommy Robinson grooming and his fan base. There's plenty of people.
Yeah, but there's going to be, I don't know. I mean, you'll have to provide some evidence for that. But there's plenty of wrong-uns in every group. So really, just looking at one group and saying there's wrong-uns only in this group is a bit ridiculous, right?
And that's what Tommy Robinson's doing. He's saying that he only kind of goes for the people who are Muslim, and he doesn't go for the people who are doing it in football coaches, for instance. Something that
right. You do know the difference. You do know the difference between paedophilia, child abuse, and do you know the difference between Muslim grooming gang crime? Do you know why the crime committed by Muslim grooming gangs are exclusive to those gangs? Do you know the difference?
They're not exclusive. There's plenty of drug gangs who are.
I'll tell you. I understand. Everybody doesn't understand this fully.
One at a time.
Listen.
So allow me to.
Yeah, but
I'm answering the question. There's plenty of grooming that goes on within drug gangs that aren't Muslim. They might be white, they might be black, and they take women, girls, and children, and they groom them with drugs, and there's nothing to do with Islam or Muslims.
Okay,
That's
Manny, sorry, I haven't
target non-Muslim.
Let me just express this for Lister, a little bit of clarification. Lister, the point isn't that there are other child abusers in this country. The point is that the Muslims in Britain are about 3% of the population, and yet they represent something in the upper 80-85% of this particular crime.
That is completely wrong. If you look at Ella Cockbane's research on this topic, she has debunked that stat. You're taking Quilliam, who have changed their report from a comprehensive study to just a study, and that came off the back of Dr. Ella Cockbane's work. So you're just using false statistics which have been echoed and signal boosted so much by Tommy Robinson, who's been given a stalking ban after he's threatened to journalists by turning up to their houses. A woman, I might ask, what kind of man is Tommy Robinson to be a figurehead for the protection of women when he's got a stalking ban against a female journalist?
Hold on. First of all, you're diverting. Hold on. No, you're totally diverting. Because
that have been promoted.
It's not a false
Tommy
statistics because Quilliam has never retracted.
Person to be running such protect the women out.
Okay. I'm not saying that I'm not even discussing that. I'm just saying that first of all, Quilliam has never retracted those statistics, and no one has actually come out and said
they have. They've changed the report. They
haven't retracted those statistics. The numbers still stand, and no one has taken them to court. No one has taken them to court to actually challenge that those statistics are incorrect. Either way,
why would someone challenge their statistics in court when they'd rather use that money to help protect?
Well, that would be if anyone has felt that this was libelous and if this was incorrect to the extent that it would damage a person's livelihood and reputation, then that person would have the legal avenue to do that. But it doesn't matter. But the point is that when it comes to
the fact is they did change the report from a comprehensive study to just a study. So they did make a retraction.
They may have changed. No, they didn't retract the numbers. They just simply reframed the name of the type of report.
No, but no one changes reports like in the way that Quilliam did. No one does that.
Let me just simply state this.
Let me just to change a report out of the blue without really telling anybody, and then all of a sudden the word count changes on the report when the researchers, Dr. Ella Cockbane, was looking at it. It's like all of a sudden there's 10,000 words, and then all of a sudden there's 9,916 or something.
Yeah, but listen. The point still stands. The point still stands. Let me just get to the end of this. Let me just get to the end of this, please.
Yeah, before you come in, I just want to you've got to let Banksy talk as well. It's not just about one person talking. It's about to and fro. Go ahead, Banksy.
You come at me with a mad question that I'm trying to put some actual facts out, where you're coming out with
you will have plenty of opportunity to reply.
You're taking the word of an ex-terrorist.
Ex-terrorist. Okay, listen. Let me just simply state this. What I'm trying to tell you is about. It's nothing to do. Look. Okay, let me just. We are veering really far away from this.
Why don't you use some respected journalists and researchers?
The reason what I'm trying to say to you
instead of a fucking ex-terrorist.
Yeah, but look, all I'm trying to say is that the Muslims in this country are 5-year
stalking order for harassing a journalist, a female journalist.
The point is that the Muslims in this country, the Muslim,
you don't care about women. You just came out. You just came at me with this question.
Listen.
Because you're trying to make it seem like I don't care about women when you are just doing the exact same thing as Tommy Robinson and clearly not caring about women. You're just using this for
Listen,
your
when we
own-
started this show, we said this whole grilling thing is all about testing your mental endurance, right? We made it
Yeah, my
perfectly clear.
endurance is, my endurance is doing great.
It's a little bit of a sort of a tongue-in-cheek thing. But look, what I'm trying to tell you is that the Muslims and the Muslim Pakistani in this particular case in this country are disproportionately committing this particular type of crime. They are.
Again,
and that is why
you're
Tommy
using
Robinson is
Quillian.
targeting this group instead of other groups, instead of other child
but
abusers.
he should be targeting
That's
himself.
the point.
He's got a 5-year stalking order after harassing a journalist. You're defending this guy now.
That has nothing to do with that's nothing to do with child grooming.
It does have something to do with it.
What's
you
it got to do with child grooming?
Going around trying to protect women when he's got a stalking order against a journalist.
No,
come on.
He's trying to protect children. He's trying to protect children. He didn't say he's gonna protect every woman in Britain. He is trying to protect and highlight grooming gangs in Britain.
I'll tell you one thing, Lister. I will back anybody that backs children and tries to stop grooming gangs. I would say because of that, I'll support Tommy Robinson and any other British hero that wants to stop this type of crime. But moving forward, I want to ask you, have you ever been bullied by women, Lister?
Have I ever been bullied by women?
Yes.
I mean,
have you?
I was bullied a lot at school, mostly by men.
Well, I've got some information. I felt a bit when I saw this. I felt a bit sorry for you.
Yeah. There you go. Yes, I have.
Let's watch this.
This is Tommy Robbins. This is Speaker's Corner.
If this ordeal is too much for you, Lister, just say I'm a Chinese spy. That's your safe word, and we'll stop.
No, I've made my own video on this. I think you should use my video. It's better. There's 3 angles.
Keep going.
Wait.
No, that was it. You were at the right place. Just
so this is Lister with his hijab on here, with a green hijab.
Belly down.
Women are fucking. I've never seen this. Holy shit.
Lister, I mean, seriously, he's like, what's wrong? Do you not want to be manly at all? What's going on?
Holy shit! I hadn't seen that before. Yeah, exactly. What should he do? Beat them up? Punch them?
I mean, I must admit, it's a tense situation.
If you go to my footage of that, I put 3 angles all together at once, so you can see it from 3 angles at the same time. And a bit later on in the day, there's a woman who comes at me, trying to call me a woman beater with a fist raised, ready to smack me in the mouth. And what I believe, Tommy Robinson, they were all Tommy Robinson supporters, by the way. They wanted
Big up Tommy Robinson.
They tried to bait me that day to retaliate against one of those women. So then they could use, I'm a woman beater, and then that would forever discredit me. But I'm obviously not, and I didn't retaliate. And they just look fucking pathetic.
You see, Lister was playing 4D chess on that one.
Supposed to be the home of free speech.
But Lister, what's the name of that video so I can actually review it?
It's Tommy Robinson, Speaker's Corner.
I see.
I can't remember
because it's on your channel, right?
Yeah, it'll be the last Tommy Robinson video I did.
So can I ask you, why do you go to these demos? I've seen you there myself because I've been in some of these demos, and you are categorically causing trouble there. Why do you do that, Lister?
So just to answer Banks's question first, the video is called Speaker's Corner, Beware of Tommy Robinson and His Manufactured Chaos. So I got a good shot of Tommy Robinson in the police van after he got arrested that day. But yeah, I go to these protests because I studied Islam at school. I spent about 10 years just kind of trying to correct misinformation on social media about about
So
Islam.
where do you stand on Muhammad's marriage to Aisha?
So there's conflicting reports on her age. There's some Muslims that believe she was much older, like 18, 19, I think.
What do you think?
What evidence do they actually present to make that statement?
They've got lots of historical evidence to suggest that certain dates, when they look at the dates when certain things were written, and then they cross-reference it with some of the hadiths and that kind of thing. There's some, like, the claims to say that she was younger than that come from things like, oh, but she was playing with dolls and stuff. I'm sat at my desk now and I've got a little duck, I've got a little monkey doll, and I've got this little smiley face doll. Like, they're not actual dolls, but they're like little toys that we all kind of have to late ages. Like, so
no, but these are statements. But these hadiths are hadiths of Aisha herself. These are her own words that we have, that she's claiming that she was still playing with dolls when she left her father's house. And
like
the
I say,
other
we all
corresponding...
kind of play with
no.
dolls.
But listen. The most important thing with the Muslim religion or the Muslim society is that they are not allowed to play with idols after the age of puberty. After they've reached the age of puberty or at the age of puberty, they are no longer allowed, because it's considered idol worship, and so idols are removed.
No.
And so the only children in that society are allowed to have dolls. So having a doll stipulates that you're a child. At least in that society and at that time. So this is why these evidence are considered much more higher level or higher value than the skeptics of her being 18 or these other conspiracy type things, is because
conspiracy.
It's
not conspiracy for Muslims to disagree about the age of.
It's much more
like
speculative.
The whole religion
speculative.
is a bit of a conspiracy. To be fair, even Christianity is a bit of a conspiracy. But at the end of the day, Jesus's mother was about 14 when he was conceived. The age of consent is completely. Has changed throughout time.
No, but
in today's day and age, especially in the West, you don't see many Muslims having children before the age, or having sex with children under the age of 16. You do see it.
I can show you videos.
You do see it in America, where in the past 10 years, something like 40,000 or 400,000. I can't remember the statistics.
Listen, I can show you videos.
Have had child marriages in the US of A, and no one ever talks about that. They just talk
the
about
US of A
those that
is
happen
illegal.
in the Middle
If
East.
they are doing it's considered
they
illegal.
have this racist rhetoric where it only matters if it's coming from someone who's non-white. If it's white, it gets ignored and brushed under the
it's
carpet,
nothing to do with white,
because they
it's
don't
nothing
want
to
to
do with
see
whiteness.
themselves and their own skin color as something that's as a type
Lister,
of people that kind of
Lister,
do that
you've seen me. Do I look brown to you, or do I? Which category would you fit me in if you were to try to identify me to the police? Would you say that brown skinned man?
I know that you're Iranian, so
yes, but I am. But I would be considered very much Caucasian in any kind of descriptive manner. Although in the police charts, I will be considered, I think, an IC6, which is Arab. But nevertheless, when you say white, the whiteness of the skin isn't the issue here. The point is that in the Muslim world, and believe me, I will literally bring up the videos of child marriages in the Middle East. One of them is of actually an Iranian wedding.
I'm not doubting that it happens. And
but the difference is
happens in America. Are you going to pull up those marriages?
But the difference is
videos of those marriages. Have you ever? I bet you have never done that, have you?
Lister, the difference is in America it's illegal. It's
not illegal
in the Middle East.
No, it's not illegal.
Where child marriage is legal in America?
Yes.
Where? Which state are we talking about?
In some states, there will be people who rape children, and then because it's their religious law or beliefs, they will force them to get married to them. Maybe not below the age of the legal limit, but as soon as they are legally allowed to, because they've had a child with this underage person, they will force them in. The parents might even force them into marriage
nevertheless,
because of their religious beliefs.
the age of
A
marriage
child
is
married out of
18
wedlock
in the United
sorry,
States.
a child giving birth out of wedlock is supposedly a Christian belief that child is just
it's a bastard.
No, but it's going straight to hell. So what they would do is make sure that they get married as soon as they're able to. So that parents will force their
nevertheless, the society overall,
their child who's a victim of rape, they will force that victim, their own child, into marriage. Do you know about that? Or do you just not care?
No.
It's
the thing is that
country?
if such a thing, if children are being married as young as 9 years old in America, then that is highly immoral. That is highly illegal, and that they should all be arrested and they should all be considered to be perverts. Well,
thousands a year happen. And you've never.
No. America has only existed for about 300 years. America has only the United States of America. Listen, the United States of America has existed for 300 years maximum.
Are you going to
so can I come in here?
You can't say thousands of years.
It's a simple Google search. Anyone can Google this and find out that it's a fact.
What's scary about what you're saying, Lister, and I've been listening quietly, is that when you read the cases with grooming gangs and these type of people, they kind of deflect their crimes in a certain way, and some of the things that they do say, and I have seen this myself, where they will say things like, well, in your history, in Britain, children were being married, and all this. It's almost as if like they're deflecting from what's really going on. What Banksy is trying to say to you is that Muhammad supposedly was an adult, middle-aged man, and he married a child.
Middle-aged, he was in his 50s.
Moral now, it would have been immoral back then. And even if it wasn't immoral back then if this great leader of theirs was so great, then all the actions that these type of people would have done back then would have been beyond time. In other words, whatever they did then which was good, would have been good today, right now. That's the difference.
That's what you believe.
The point is,
take India for example. Let me finish my point. So take India for example. So a lot of pro-Muslim grooming gang people always say, well, there were child marriages in India back in the day. And I'm not saying you are pro-grooming gang. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just telling you my story. So they always say, oh, a lot of Indians there used to be a lot of child marriages in India. But what they never fail to comprehend is that the life expectancy in India at those days was very, very low. And as a consequence, the parents would marry one child with another child. But it wasn't in the case of an adult man marrying a child. It was a child going through a ceremony with another child, and they would stay as children. And in many times, the married child wouldn't even go to live together. They would return to their parents' home, and once they were adults, they would begin and start communal living and what have you. That is the difference. None of these other cultures, from my understanding, or certainly not my parents' culture, really entertained adults marrying and raping children.
Well, it's not just that. The critical difference between Muhammad and any other character in history is that Muhammad is considered a prophet and the best example for all mankind. So Muslims are encouraged to emulate Muhammad's behavior today. You see, I don't care what a historic person did. I don't care what Muhammad did back in 1400 years ago. I don't care what Attila the Hun did. I don't care what Genghis Khan did, or Caligula, or any of these historical people in their time. They are the people of their time, and they acted the way everyone else acted in their time.
But the thing is,
listen. Maybe in 1,000 years' time, we would be considered barbarians for eating pork and lamb. I mean, we could be, we will be judged for the actions that we have committed in this time. But
absolutely, but we will still have
is
heroes
that none of
from
us.
this time.
No, but
we
the
will
point
still
is,
have
Lester,
heroes of this time, and people will still disagree with their heroes and that specific example.
But Lester,
so
none of us are going to be considered
you're
prophets.
Trying to call out. You're trying to call out a whole religion of people for doing doing something that they're not. The majority of them don't do and don't believe in, and you're
but
asking them
greatest example does.
You're asking them to put Muhammad in a present time context and call him out for something that literally everybody was doing in that context at the time.
But Muhammad is different. Muhammad is exceptional in this case, Lister. Muhammad is a prophet. Yes, he is a prophet of God.
We have figures of this time, like Michael Jackson and like John Peel.
Michael Jackson is not a prophet of God.
He is to a lot of people. He's treated that way to a lot of people.
No, he's not. He's not considered the greatest example for all mankind.
John Peel, who only died a few years ago, who married his teenage sweetheart when she was about 14, I think. They eloped to Scotland, and they were happily married until the day he died. Was he a paedophile? Did he get called out on a daily basis for marrying a child when he was in his mid-20s?
Again,
No,
these people are not prophets.
But we hold up these characters as some sort of pariah. We might not believe they're heroes or worship them, but they don't get called out on it in the same way that we're like you constantly obsess over Muhammad. Like
because Muhammad is a prophet.
There's bigger fish to fry than the classification of Muhammad, especially when we're talking about grooming gangs who aren't religious because they deal drugs, which is haram, and they generally don't have a religious bone in their bodies. It has.
But that's not true. That's not true. You just lied there. You just lied. They go to mosque, right?
Yes.
They even been known to recite the Quran. Right, and they classify themselves as being Muslim. So what you're talking about?
Some of them,
but that's cover.
The conversation.
But Lister,
they go for the social. They go. Listen, can I answer that? They go for the social kudos to kind of hide the fact that they might be like dealing with drugs and other certain things. Like, I'm not dealing drugs because I go to mosque. A lot of people do this. They have double lives where they try and protect their image. And
where would you go to? Where would you go to learn the Quran?
It's a very common psychopathic tactic.
Where would you go to learn the Quran?
Where one life protects their image and the other life is full of fucking shame.
Where would you go to learn the Quran, Lister?
Sorry?
Where would you go to learn the Quran?
You can go to lots of places. But do you understand what I just said?
Yeah, but to recite. No, but have you actually read the cases, the police reports of these Muslim grooming gangs? You would know categorically that these people do go to mosques, they do attend their religious buildings, they do recite the Quran, and in some cases, I can tell you about a case where a girl was abducted, and the imam knew the girl was abducted and still married them.
Yeah, and that's wrong.
Do you know? I think you could be quite a nice guy.
In America, there's lots of Christian preachers who also do the same thing, and in the UK as well. There's plenty of people do the same thing where they're reciting the Bible, they're preaching the Bible on stage, and in their double life, they're doing lots of toxic things to young people.
Right, but you can't say on that accord, you cannot say that one person like Tommy Robinson calling out one group is any worse or less than calling out another group. Let Tommy do him, in fact, support him, and let other people target other groups.
How can I support a man who is got a 5-year stalking order for harassing a female journalist? How can I support that man in his attempt to protect women and
let me show you something.
Let me show you something. He has got no credibility. He has literally zero credibility in this area, and you are allowing him to only focus on Muslims, which fits his anti-Muslim agenda, his racist anti-Muslim agenda, and you're allowing this to happen by.
But did you know? Let me stop you there. Did you know that in his documentary, where that poor girl, Nicole, that was abused, that there was a Sikh guy involved in that, and in that documentary, he called the Sikh guy out.
Yeah, there's lots of Sikhs also involved in this, but that's the first time I've ever.
There's four Sikhs been involved in grooming gangs.
Ever?
Five.
No.
But let me share with you something that I think you're very easily manipulated, and I think this proves how easily you're manipulated. Check this out.
You're projecting. You're the one coming here with false statistics.
So this guy is basically saying, and you're going to agree with him in a second in the video, where he says that the Muslim grooming gang members, they're not Muslim, they're actually Hindus in India who want to be Muslim. So what the parents are doing, they're naming them Muslim names and then sending them to the UK to form Muslim grooming gang. He's actually telling that to Danny Tomo and another lady, and you're standing next to him, and you watch your reaction when he's speaking.
Most of these guys, yeah, whether they come from India or Pakistan, right? They come from an area where it's like the parents, they give their children Muslim names. Yes, they don't feel left out. Yes, so when they come here, they come with Muslim names, but they're not Muslim. That's what they do in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. That's what they do. When there's a majority of Muslims and there's Hindus or Christians, they give their children Muslim names. Look, if there's Muslims going.
Did you hear that, Lister? I think we demand an apology for you even supporting that nonsense.
No, I'm trying to add something. I think I'm trying to talk about something in Spain. I can't remember. But no, in fact, I do remember what I was trying to add there. In Spain, you see people called Jesus all the time, but they're not necessarily Christian being called Jesus. And so to assume someone called Muhammad must be Muslim and a believing Muslim, that was what I was trying to add to that conversation.
Lister, the point is that these, I don't know if you've actually seen the documentary that Tommy released.
Yes, I watched it. I reported on
those Muslims. Those Muslims were leaders of the Muslim organizations and society in Telford. They were literally leading prayers. They were considered highly respectable Muslim leader figures within that community. These were not just random guys off the street.
Who literally has no respect. Had no respect.
It doesn't matter. The fact is that the Muslim, but I'm talking about Tommy.
Look, I'm not here to play this. I'm not here to play this. Like, this is so boring that we're having this conversation. We've had this conversation so many times. I did not expect to be having it again. So I didn't come and I didn't research any of these names, but there are literally dozens of people that are Tommy Robinson supporters, that are pedophiles and that have been arrested, and it just completely goes ignored. The fact that every time he does an event like this in Telford, there will be pedophiles within his support, within that crowd. And it just goes unmentioned or
Yeah, but grooming gang crime and paedophile crime are different, Lister.
That's not the point anyway. The point is that you were trying to say, and this video was trying to say, that these people who come from Sri Lanka, who have got Muslim names, are not really Muslim, and yet the people in that Tommy highlighted were leaders of the Muslim community in Telford. They were not just
Tommy
average
Robinson has
Muslims.
No credibility in this area. He has a 5-year stalking order against the woman.
That 5-year stalking order doesn't retract from the fact that those Muslims that he highlighted
has
who they
credibility in protecting women if he thinks it's okay to turn up
to do with it.
A journalist's house and threaten her to stop reporting on him. Do you think that gives him credibility in protecting women and girls?
It has nothing to do with it.
He goes to their house to threaten women.
I have to look
into
this.
Wait a minute, aren't your friends at Antifa threatening him as well?
What?
Are you a part of Antifa, Lister?
I'm not a part of anything. I'm just
Oh, I
anti-fascist.
apologize.
Like you ought to be. Are you not
I thought I had
anti-fascist?
heard.
Are you
I thought I had heard a
pro-fascist?
video song in one of your YouTube videos shouting Antifa. My bad. I thought that as a consequence of that you may be Antifa. I was just going to say a lot of left wing extreme groups like Antifa, they've been threatening Tommy as well.
Yeah, I
haven't
mean
they?
that guy Coughlin 666 who rocked up to his house with his kids when they knew he wasn't even in the house. He
To
was
serve
actually
him papers.
out of the house.
To serve him
and they
legal
knew he wasn't
papers.
even in the country, and they went up
But
to his and they doxed his
I
house with
don't
his
agree with
children
the
in it.
guy that they chose to serve him papers, but they legitimately served him papers, and there were police there at the time to help serve those papers safe and securely. Like, I don't agree with the guy that they picked and taking his dog. That was ridiculous. However, that's completely not the same as turning up to someone's house in the middle of the night to harass and to threaten without legal papers. I'm talking about Lizzie Dearden here, so anyone can Google this. That Tommy has a literal stalking order against a woman. It's been gone through court, and he can't go within so many feet of her. So this man has no credibility when it comes to protecting women. It's not the first time he's turned up to a journalist's house. He's done it to plenty of other people, including getting the wrong house, including harassing mothers and parents of other people that have been reported on him, been reporting on him.
Right. So,
Obviously
he's saying that they're writing lies about
you're
him.
not defending harassers of women, because that would be lovely. I'd rather talk about something else.
Okay,
Well,
let's
but
do
you
that.
guys have no shame. So I imagine you're going to continue defending a man who's harassing women. But go for it.
I'll defend anybody that defends children, if I'm honest with you. But let's move forward.
He's not defending children. He's using them for his own grift, so he can make money out of it, to use people's fears against them, and for him to get rich. That's been his mission objective this whole time. And the people who call that out, he goes and harasses and tries to silence them with violence.
Well, look, that's very overinflated. But I'm not. I don't want to respond to that.
It's in law.
It's very overinflated. But we're not going to be able to move on. If I respond to that and dissect it, we're not going to be able to move on. But let's talk more about politics, since we have you on. So in regards to, what's your opinion about the Nazis and basically how, as a left-wing party, they are now making a return around Europe? What's your view on that?
What do you mean as a left-wing party?
Yeah, so they were socialists, right? Nazis are a socialist political group.
Do you think North Korea is democratic because they call themselves democratic?
Well, that's an interesting thing. I tried to mention that in my show a few months back, how a lot of these communist type groups, like even China, they put the word republic in there. But that's, no, they're not democratic, to answer.
Exactly. So if you don't think that that's the case, then it's not the case that Nazis were socialists.
Well, Nazis were socialists, so we know that.
No, just because they called themselves socialists doesn't mean they're socialists. They sold off. They had the biggest sell-off to the so they had the biggest sell-off to corporations that Germany has ever seen. And it's funny that we've also seen
but that's what socialism is, working with corporations.
No,
that's what socialism is.
Socialism is where people take control of of their labor, so they become the owners. So it might be workers will own the corporation, or the public will own the corporation, but that wasn't the case in Nazi Germany.
That's how people are sold on it. But in reality, it's the government working with the corporations.
Yeah, it's the government that takes over. No, that's fascism.
Socialism
in reality is when government.
That's not what happened in Germany. The government sold their public-owned stuff to the private corporation, so it wasn't them working with it. It was giving the socialist structure over to private corporations.
That's fascism.
It's nothing to do with socialism. It's the complete opposite, and that is exactly what's happened.
The party
in the past
is a National Socialist Party.
Are you allowing me to answer the question? That's exactly what's happened in the UK over this pandemic. Instead of building up our NHS and having that government continually government owned with government kind of like people on the payroll, what happened was Boris Johnson sold these contracts out to people like to his mates who were owned by corporations. And in the same way that Germany had the biggest sell-off to the corporations in Nazi Germany, we've seen in the UK the biggest sell-off of our government and state institutions, publicly owned institutions, to private entities. So
but that
yes, we are
decades ago. That happened through
like
Thatcher.
a Nazi state in the UK.
And what do you think about the KKK in America copied Islam and created a book called the Quran? What's your opinion about that?
I mean, that's the first I've ever heard of that. I'm not up to date on like the KKK literature. So
what about the fact that the Nazi Secret Service started converting to Islam towards the end of World War II? Were you aware of that?
And also, they met with the Mufti of Jerusalem.
Like
you do know that Hitler met with the Mufti of Jerusalem, right?
Yes, Hitler met with lots of people, including members of our royal family. So
no, but that was after this the war had started. This wasn't like pre. But also, I mean, they also had Muslim regiments in the SS. But then they also did have Sikh regiments in the SS as well.
Yeah, and in those days there was a large socialist. There was a large socialist movement in India at the time.
That's how Nazism works. They arrive as your friend and they restore your honor and they stroke your ego to the point where you think that they're these nice people. Nazis are basically narcissists, and you can look up there's lots of psychologists who've written about this, that a Nazi state is born out of a narcissist kind of mentality within the people of that state. And it's a political choice. When inequality grows, narcissism grows within communities. So if you don't get the love that you need from your parents or whatever, or people like it's basically a political choice. You can increase the narcissism in a country by pulling certain levers from government like positions of power to the point where it's just a natural consequence that narcissism increases. So narcissism,
that makes sense. That makes sense. Left-wing politics is very feminine.
Narcissism.
So guys, I have a question. I have a question as well. Sorry, before Manny, if you have another question, just pin that for a second. I just want to make things a little bit lighthearted.
Get it through your head.
They were categorically. They were.
Well, they were certainly socialists.
They encompass
National
the whole.
Socialist
They encompass
Party.
the whole. The whole. They encompass the whole of the political spectrum to the point where they've infiltrated the left and the right. So it's this ultra authoritarian.
I disagree.
thing.
When you start looking at politics for exactly what it is, which is collectivism versus individualism, you soon find out this narrative about Nazis being anything else but far left. Is just
far
ridiculous.
left. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sold publicly.
So when you look at politics, you need to look at politics as individualism versus collectivism.
Position. And you're talking absolute nonsense.
Okay. Let me just
guys, versus collectivism, because individuality is freedom, collectivism is suppression.
Guys, you're talking over each other.
So that's how we need to have a look at this. Individualism will always bring sovereign freedom. Collectivism will always brings suppression. So the more left-wing you are, the more collectivized you are. The more right-wing you are, the more individualized and therefore more free you are. It's as simple as that. And being, look, a woman's mindset in a perfect world would that she would look up to her husband for security, for for comfort. That's exactly what the left-wing mindset is. They look at the government, the state as their husband and to look after them, where
That's
more
not
of a
very.
masculine mindset
That's
is
not
to
a
be
Western
conservative,
view.
is to be
Hold on.
independent, is to be free. So anyone, as far as I'm
So
concerned, if
hold
they're
on.
left-wing and
Hold
they're
on.
male, you need to kind of hook up with another beta male.
You've just kind of hold on. You've just kind of quoted the kind of Islam view on the difference between men and women. The Western view of the differences between men and women are completely different. Women are seen as strong and independent and able to cope on their own, not needing a husband to look up to, but they're more on an equal footing. And you've just quoted your beliefs on women, which are more inclined with the extremist
Islamic
kind of Muslim belief that
the
you
thing
so
is-
hate.
No, but hold on. Listen, no, you can't be right.
That's what you've concluded from that. That's what you've concluded from that.
The thing is, Lister.
That's exactly
Lister,
what's
hold
come
on.
out of your mouth. You're putting
You've concluded from that. You've got to remember that I feel that feminism is the secret power of women and masculinity is the secret natural power of men. But when a woman is in her natural energy, which is feminist, that's exactly how she will be. She will perform that born from a feminist point of view. So what you're trying to do is try to put me in a box and say you're doing this and you're an extremist.
One at a time.
Which is one of those things that most extreme people will do. And a woman's natural energy, as far as I'm concerned, you've accused me of something, so allow me to finish. You've accused me of something, so let me finish. So if you're saying that a woman is not a feminine, then that's your issue. For me, if a woman is a woman, she has to be a feminist, and therefore she will be in a feminist energy, and a man who's a man who will be in a masculine energy. And as a consequence, the mindsets are such that you think I'm saying that a woman being feminine and therefore being left-wing in terms of politics is a negative thing. I didn't say that. I'm saying that just naturally belongs to a feminist energy, where a conservative mindset naturally belongs to a masculine energy. That's what my point is. But because you need to put me in a box and attack me, you're going to try to say, well, you're same as this and you're an extremist.
The thing is that when Lister, you claimed that this was a Muslim narrative. The fact is that in some aspects, Muslims are conservative. The Islamic religion is a conservative religion, and so they will acknowledge that women and men have different coping strategies towards life, different outlook towards life, and so they would actually coincide in this aspect with what Manny said. But the fact is that Islam is a collectivist religion, so they are actually more leaning towards socialist ideals than they would towards conservative or right-wing ideals in other aspects, because of their collective ideals about Ummah and about the unity of God and all of that stuff. So they would end up falling far more towards a socialist thing. Oh, what happened to Lister? Did he drop off?
He's gone.
Yeah. Oh, I think he might have lost
connection. Come back, Lister, come back. Come back. We haven't even rang the bell yet.
You never rang the bell to begin with. You never even started with the bell.
Oh, he's back.
How can we finish with the bell when he didn't even start with the bell?
Lister, you're back, mate. Okay,
back.
Look.
Yeah, I've got a...
Lister, did you catch the last portion?
That keeps dropping.
Oh, I see. Did you hear the last thing that I said?
I didn't hear anything you just said, no.
Ah, darn it. No, what I was saying is that when you assign or subscribe Manny's ideas about feminine energy versus masculine energy, that is an Islamic concept, or it coincides with Muslims more, because in this aspect, especially when it comes to gender identities and gender roles, Islam is conservative, is very conservative. And
it's
so
still collectivized.
But the thing is, because of its collective nature, because of the collectiveness of the one Ummah, the collectiveness of under worshipping the one God and all that stuff, they fall much more in line with socialist aspects than they do with conservative individualist aspects. But in this aspect of female-male identities, they're a conservative religion, and so they would coincide with what Manny said a lot more. So you're right and wrong in both aspects. It's that Islam isn't conservative in its totality of the way Manny describes it, of individualism, It's a collectivist idea,
but there's plenty of women
and female
who
roles are defined.
But there are plenty of women within Islam who are feminists and fight for their rights and stand up to men and their patriarchy in the same way that women were doing and still are doing in the UK and the West for the last hundreds of years.
Yeah, but that's because of the Western influence on those Muslim women. It's not because Islam has encouraged them to stand up to the patriarchal system of an Islamic society. That's because of the influence that they've had from Western feminists.
But not necessarily. The women, the Muslim women, will be using their own kind of like figures from their religious text. Like a lot of women look up to Aisha, for instance, because she was a very successful and powerful woman within Islam, wasn't she?
Maybe after the death of Muhammad, but certainly not during his lifetime.
There were plenty of times when she put Muhammad in his place.
That's arguable, but I mean that's fair enough. I'll be honest. I don't want to go down. I mean,
did have this kind of strong, like powerful image within the religion, and they will use those figures in the same way that they have in the West as well. However, it's men who are most likely to be psychopaths and to create a patriarchy and put down and not talk about the successful women in their history. So that's the problem here. Men have always taken control of societies in their own and recreated it in their own image. When I think if we had the ability to kind of make it more equal or to have more women in positions of power than men, we would have a much fairer society that doesn't include billionaires running off with billion and making shitloads of money at the expense of everybody else. Because if you look at how many billionaires are women, you'll find that it's about 20%. And if you look at how many billionaires are from Africa, there's about 20, and that's like I think that's like 1%, and that just goes to show that we live in this kind of multicultural world, but it's controlled not by Jewish people, but it's controlled by mostly white men.
But men are stronger though, no, Lister? More capable?
It's not just that. Men are more competitive. Men are
they might be more physically
disagreeable,
stronger, but they're especially not emotionally stronger.
No, but the thing is, the thing is, when it comes to financial success, you see, you've just given us
you don't
a
have
financial.
Emotions.
No, but
you're
going
to pretend that you've never cried, Manny.
No, but Lister,
I bet you cry every night, don't you?
But Lister, you gave us a metric of finance. You didn't give us metrics of other aspects of what men are successful at. And when it comes to financial success and commerce, men are by far the more successful and more driven
because
than
they're more
are.
greedy.
It's not that they're more greedy. Men are more competitive.
Sinful kind of religious kind of dogmas that we shouldn't be promoting in society. It's like, who cares if someone's financially successful? Why should that matter? That should be a fucking
you just
mark
said
of the beast.
About millionaires. Dude, you just said about millionaires and billionaires.
Financial success should be not seen as a success. It should be seen as something that's bad.
Lister, you're all over the place. You're all over the place.
How am I all
you
over
literally
the place?
because you set the stage of millionaires and how many millionaires there are of women, men, white men, black men, etc. You set the stage and you set the metric of millionaires and which group consists of more millionaires than others. And I'm trying to acknowledge based on that metric. You didn't bring in other metrics of who's more compassionate, who's more in touch with their emotions, who's more altruistic. No, you said X amount of people make X amount of money, and why is that? And I'm trying to explain to you why on the metric of money, because you brought up money, this is
You're
occurring,
seeing
why
that
this
as
is happening.
you're seeing that as success, though. Where I think that
Success in making money.
Let Lister speak. Let Lister speak.
I'm saying that's exploitation, because you can't make that much money without exploiting others, and you're seeing that as success. And I'm saying also that exploiting children, like grooming gangs, that is also exploitation. But they're both sins. One is greed and one is exploitation of children. And you are seeing the greed as a successful position. I don't see it as a successful position. I see it as exploitation, in the same way that children are groomed, in the same way that people are
Manny, hold
forced into kind of wage slavery.
We can carry on.
Question. I've got one
okay,
last
no,
question.
one minute. So that's just to mark the end of the so-called grilling. The conversation can carry on. But anyway, well done, Lister. I thought
congratulations,
you gave
Lister.
us good as you got.
I should have expected to come up against the exact same questions that I've been faced with the past like 3 or 4 years coming onto these podcasts.
We got bogged down,
and it's just sad to see that like this area has not moved on from 4 years ago. It's like, hey, is there not like some new issues? Is there not a war going on?
No, we didn't plan to do these questions. It just went down that road. Our questions were very much politics based.
The same circular arguments, the same bullshit figures being used that have been debunked over and over again.
Well, they haven't really been debunked. But one thing I wanted to ask, and this has been a key question in our audience for a while, and I've just been trying to find a moment to ask it. The question that seems to be on everybody's mind is, how often do you shower, Lister? And why is it? Do you purposefully go for the unwashed look?
So I shower every couple of days, at least, sometimes every day. I don't like to shop, so my clothes are generally worn until they fall apart, and that's my style. I like it. There's some designer gear, for instance, that like someone's selling like some ripped jeans for like over £1,000, and it's like, hey, that's just my fucking wardrobe, and it's all natural. So I've been photographed by people because they like my style. So if you don't like it, then that's up to you. I like it. It's comfy, and that's all that matters. I don't dress to look good. I dress to be comfortable, and that's.
I see. Well, that's okay. Those was some of the questions that our audience members were keen to throw out there, and thank you for, participating and answering the questions honestly. Manny, anything else?
Yeah, I think Lister, I think you did a good job. I think you stood your ground well. It's actually been enjoyable. I've liked having you on. In fact, I'd like to have you back on, not to talk about the topics we've covered, but just to have a left-wing an opinion on some of the debates going forward. And I think the more the varied opinions we have on, the better it's going to be for society, because a lot of these debates and channels can become an echo chamber, and I think that's very, very bad. I think we need to have different opinions, because essentially, I mean, when we strip everything down from everything what you said, or everything what I or Banksy or who said, like at the end of the day, we all want the best for our fellow man, our community, our country, and so on and so forth. It's just that we're trying to arrive at that destination from via different routes, and the routes we choose seems to kind of annoy one another. And that's what the conversation is, where we're trying to tell each other, jump onto my route to the promised land, rather than finding your own.
I think Manny, yes, you're right that we're all trying to seek the best possible solutions to achieve the best possible society, so that everybody's happy, everybody's equal, everybody's well fed and maintained, and we then allow others to succeed based on their abilities. But the thing that we all disagree on is how and what is the best method to get to
that's
that
what I
point.
meant. Yeah,
Maybe the destination is common in all of us. We all have a common goal, but we don't all have the same methodology to get there. And I think I personally feel that there are some people who, if we implemented their methods, it would take us completely away from that goal and it would be a disaster, and others disagree. That's it.
I think if you guys actually took your time to review the work of Dr. Ella Cockbain and her colleagues, you would find that what I was saying about that topic is completely factual, and then we'd be able to move the conversation along. I think these types of platforms become an echo chamber because it's been many years since that report has come out, where it did force the change of Quilliam's report from a comprehensive study to just a study, and it completely debunks the 84% statistic that you're referencing. So if you were able to move yourselves forward on that regard, where even the authors of your own report have walked themselves back on it, then you might find that these places aren't such an echo chamber, and people from the left might think that, oh, these guys have got some backbone to actually report on the actual facts of the matter, and it wouldn't be they wouldn't feel like it's such a hostile space to join.
Yeah, I'm going to look into that. I'll promise you I'm going to look into that. But I will say this. I've actually collected all the names of the arrested and charged members of the Muslim grooming gangs. And I can tell you from all the names listed that 90% of them have Muslim names.
Well, did you just hear what you just said? I've collected the names of all the Muslim grooming gangs. You've not done any of the drug gangs that aren't Muslim. You've not done any of the football coaching grooming gangs.
Because that's paedophilia.
Of the Christian.
You see, I don't get the crimes mixed up. I don't get the crimes mixed up.
Well, of course, the Muslim grooming gangs are going to have 90% Muslim names because you're only looking at the Muslim grooming gangs. So you already answered your own question.
Because it's a specific crime, Lister. It's a specific crime.
Oh,
it is. In my opinion, it is.
But listen, are you saying
exploitation is a wide range of people doing it, and you're just looking at the Muslims? You just said it yourself.
No, I've collected. What I actually meant was all the arrests that were made for all those grooming gangs.
Grooming gangs, that they found in Telford and in Rotherham and on all these other places. That these were the grooming gangs that were highlighted in these areas. 90% of the names are Muslim. It's not like they went out and only looked at gangs that were Muslim and then arrested them. They looked at all the gangs that were grooming. No, I'm talking about the ones that were arrested and charged. The police. Are you saying that the police only went out and said, okay, if they only got 90% Muslim names in this gang, is the only gang we're going to arrest. If they have 80% English names or Ukrainian names, then we won't. No, the fact is the police went and found grooming gangs. They arrested these gangs and they charged them. And when you look at all these gangs that they found in Rotherham, in Telford and other places, 90% of them are Muslim. That's how this came about.
You're ignoring the people that aren't anyway.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, look, I think the best thing, I think we just get bogged down in this. I think the best thing to do, and I honestly think the fairest thing to do, is for us to look at the report that you're stating, and I'll be more than happy to have another hour, even if you like. We can devote the whole hour to that report and actually dissect it, look at it, and with your help and with your advice on board, and we'll make a fair assessment of whether this Quilliam report was accurate or
could you send
the fairest thing.
Could you send Banksy the link for that, please, Lister, and I'll grab it off Banksy as well. Is that okay?
Yeah, tweet it to me, and
sure.
I'll go through it. I'm more than happy for us to have a good, honest discussion about this, because I'm not precious about whether they're Muslim or not. I am interested in whether these gangs are operating with impunity, because I'll be on. If you looked at Tommy Robinson's documentary, he went after the police officers as well. He went after the commissioners, the councillors. Those are the people who I think are more should be punished even more severely than the Muslim gangs themselves, because these groups, these people allowed this to happen.
And the thing is, if there is any grain of truth in what Tommy Robinson was claiming, then it further doesn't help the victims, because he has been discredited so much. So, for instance, there was some things that, like, in that documentary that kind of like struck me, where the parents of the victim that he had on stage were fully aware that their child was working in this shop as an underage person, and then they went and got into the car with one of these supposed groomers who then paid some. It was like they paid him the dad off into silence, and it's like, hold on, aren't you supposed to be there protecting your child? It sounds like you may have sold your child to these people, which makes the parents very much culpable for this abuse in at the same time. And it's these questions that Tommy Robinson didn't ask when he heard these certain like pieces of information being told to him, that just makes it lack credibility and make, like, do you know what I'm saying? It's very difficult to blame the parents.
There is the fact that the father used to work as a...
They very much were negligent in their protection of their own daughter.
Well, I mean, yeah, there is the fact that the father was working as a delivery driver for the pizza shop, and that's how he actually brought his own daughter to the shop. Initially, she was helping him like with the deliveries. She's sitting in the car with him, and then she started working in the shop. So the father definitely knew and trusted these individuals that he allowed his daughter to mingle with. Now, to what extent was he aware? Anyway. Yeah, but I mean, I worked at that age. I worked in my uncle's pizza shops when I was young. I had my own pizza shop when I was older. It's not like it's a major thing. When you're 14, 15, you can either choose to go and get a paper round, or you can go and work in your uncle's pizza shop. It's not something that was unusual, and certainly from my upbringing.
What I find alarming, Lister, is that your first initial reaction seems to be to protect the group that are being accused, and not.
No, I'm not trying to protect
them. Into your kind of emotions, as you called it, to kind of say, this is ridiculous, and kind of engage your masculinity. But you always seem to be wanting to blow the trumpet for the Muslim grooming gang, saying, look, how dare you call them Muslim grooming gangs?
I'm not.
I'm sure, Lister, I'm sure you agree that.
Let Lister answer. Let Lister answer.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do is just kind of get to the facts and show that Tommy Robinson is such a discredited figure in society that he cannot help by getting involved in this. So if you want to protect girls and you want to protect them from any sort of grooming, then support the local charities, support people like Nazir Afzal, who is a Muslim, who has locked these people up, and support the researchers who are trying to find out the exact truth, and not some bastardized version of it that Tommy Robinson puts out. Because, like I say, he's been discredited and he can't help. Because what happened when he went to Telford, it was like a war zone. Cars were getting blown up. And how do we know if he's not blowing up his own car because it makes good fucking TV and it plays off the fears of all of his fan base?
That's a ridiculous thing to say. That's a ridiculous thing to say. And also, it also seems as if you've got this obsession with Tommy Robinson.
Journalists, how can that be a ridiculous thing to say? The amount of
that is, of course, it is a ridiculous thing to say, because police were involved and they investigated it.
Getting firebomb.
Yeah, but police were involved, and they literally.
In the first instance,
you've got to keep your feet on the ground.
They were literally telling the police that this is about to happen. This is going to happen. They're targeting us. They know where we are, and the police literally ignored them until the petrol bombs were thrown at the. I mean, why would you warn the police and ring the police up and tell them that this is happening when you're about to actually fabricate such a scenario yourself?
Because he's a
just
psychopath.
Yeah,
This is what they do.
What's your obsession with Tommy? Why can you not see the good that he does?
What psychopaths do. They manipulate, and it makes it seem unbelievable. But in reality, they're fucking psychopaths, and this is what they do.
But do you think that you're too emotionally invested in trying to find out things that are wrong with Tommy Robinson, and perhaps your energies are wasted, and they could be kind of put into for the betterment of the community?
I've pivoted from opposing Tommy. That's how I kind of got into this publicly. I started going to his protests, and since then there's lots of other people continuing doing that, and they were doing that before me in a lot of them. And I've found out about this NRX ideology, so I've pivoted from focusing solely on Tommy Robinson and far-right agendas.
Speaking of NRX,
to this NRX ideology, which encompasses the whole of society, and in the way that we were talking about the Nazis before.
Interesting. Speaking of the NRX, by the way, Ralph is actually in the comments section. He's typing away. He's actually very much in your support, but nevertheless.
And isn't that funny? And also, Hassan seems to be a very Nazi-orientated person, and he's your number one fan today as well.
Yes, it seems weird, but this is how they do it. They try and discredit by latching themselves on. Like, if you look at social media, for instance, there's lots of different groups, like a Socialist Sunday thing, and that gets infiltrated, and then people kind of share someone who's had made some toxic posts, and then it's like, hey, have you seen what this person said? Are you not going to call them out? And it's just this toxic bullshit of fakery from all sides, and I try and do not get involved in it. Ralph and Hassan are toxic pieces of shit. They can, if they're appearing to support me, it's an appearance to discredit me, and that's just the reality of it.
Is that what it is?
Piss off.
Yeah,
I think that's it. I think we're going to leave it on a high there. I think we're going to leave it. Lister, you have become the first guest to close the show for us. So on that note, we're going to bid you farewell, and hopefully you'll come back on once we've had a chance to digest the reports and links you're going to send over to Banksy, and we can have a part 2 of this show.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Lister, for coming on, by the way, mate. It was really good on for you.
Yeah, no worries.
Will you come on? You don't seem very excited about coming back on.
Well, no, because it just means a lot of work going back over, like researching old ground that I've done before. And like I say, I kind of want to move on. It would be good if you could do it on your own to show that you don't need me to hold your hand through it. and then when I come back on, we can talk about something else, because I think Dr. Ella Cockbane's work speaks for itself.
Okay, no worries. Send us a link and
we'll
go through that. But I think the next time it might be interesting. I don't know if you are interested. There's 2 areas that I wanted to discuss, which we didn't get a chance. One was the Nazi battalions in Ukraine and what your thoughts are on that, and also, of course, the NRX. So if you're more interested in the NRX, I'm actually much happier to go down that road.
Yeah, like I would say that I am most comfortable talking about the NRX, because that is what I have spent most of my time on doing since meeting Ralph. So to go back into old ground, it's kind of difficult for me. I did want to ask you one thing about the Ukraine situation. I saw somewhere that Pavlov's supposedly gone over.
No, that was
just a lie.
That was just it was just a nonsensical thing. We were just messing around last week when we because
he was supposed to come on last week and he didn't. So we put a headline to kind of entice him to come on, but he's been flaking on us, to be honest, Lister.
Yeah, he's got work. He's got other things right now because obviously him being Ukrainian, he's getting a lot of other people asking him to come on their shows and do speeches and stuff. So that's why he's flaked on us a couple of times. In fact, he was supposed to be on tonight, and he flaked on that as well. But no, that was just a joke. He's not actually in Ukraine. He's firmly staying in Britain.
And should we I mean, your name has come through as Mark Lister, so I assume that your first name was Lister. Is that not the case?
Oh shit! Yeah, that's right. It's shit. Yeah, it that is my full name. Yeah, but I do like to be called Lister. I don't know why that's happened.
Yeah, everybody just refers to you as Lister, or
Fair
the
enough.
Pirate of Speaker's Corner.
But yeah, you can find my YouTube channel at Fascist Beware, where I have gone through some of Tommy Robinson's most explicit kind of transgressions and why he cannot be trusted in any of this or on any topic. He's just a criminal and a habitual liar and a grifter. Everything he does is for money, and he fakes a lot of shit. So when he gets involved in something that is based in some truths, which I think that the victim that he highlighted on stage was obviously a victim of grooming, he's the worst person to help her.
That's in your opinion, but in my opinion, he does a lot of good, and most importantly, he highlights this type of crime. But that's people are more than welcome to go. What is it? What's the channel called? Fascist Beware. If they type that in, they'll come across it.
Yeah, Fascist Beware on YouTube.
Same as his
and
logo.
You can find me on Twitter.
Do you want me to promote that? Shall I post that as well? Because I just found it and I was going to post it. Mark Lister 3K. Okay, guys.
Yes.
Anyone out there? It's Mark Lister 3000 or 3K at Mark Lister 3K on Twitter. Is there any other social media that you're in?
Yeah, but like that's just pretty much.
You're not on Pornhub, are you?
OnlyFans?
No, I don't.
Only maybe some pirate themed.
I do
tasty pictures of Lister.
The communist lollipop.
I hate social media, so I do want to get into like TikTok and other things, but it's just I just can't be asked. It's just.
Oh, you'll be at home on TikTok. It's Chinese owned.
As long as you can dance. Dancing videos are really popular on TikTok. So put together some, Pirates of the Caribbean themed dance moves.
And before you go, Lister, if you need your hand holding at the next Tommy Robinson and demo, make sure I'm nowhere near you because you crack a lot of trouble.
Hey man,
it's all right, Lister, mate. I'll back you, mate. I'll back you. I'll be there. Like, it's all right. Leave him. Let him do his thing. I'll make sure the women don't come near you.
Raj actually protected you, didn't he? That time me and him went to the Tommy thing, and you were causing trouble. And then when another chap poured a drink over you, I was
not causing trouble. I just had a debate with Kevin Carroll, and then he walked off, and then I just stood there in silence while the crowd got riled up themselves. I was not causing any trouble. That's just what happens when a left winger goes to a far right protest. However, when far right people go to left wing protests, that never happens. So
because Antifa give out samosas and pakoras, don't they?
No, but like
behave, Lister, behave.
On my latest video, like Bus, all I did was distract and agitate Busker. I didn't touch him once. I didn't threaten him. I just kind of wound him up to the point where he couldn't film to try and prevent a potential psyop that like what happened at the silent vigil. If you want to watch that video on my YouTube.
Yeah. I saw your coverage of that. Very, very unusual, but yeah, I saw that.
Okay, gentlemen.
So people who believe in free speech and freedom of movement are the left. In reality, the right, they're in their mob mentality where it's like, oh, look at that lefty smelly cunt, and then all of a sudden they're pouring lager over my head like children.
Well, if you only shower once every 2 days, mate, come on.
and they don't like it when they get retaliation, and then all of a sudden it's full on violence.
Damn.
Well, it certainly is interesting seeing you there. But anyway, I'm glad you didn't get hurt and what have you. And obviously Raj, the fascist, saved you that day. I would have thought.
No, he didn't save me. There was a guy in a tweed suit that saved me. Well, he didn't save me either. It was, I think the guy woke up to the realization that he's just lost his fucking head, and he stopped doing what he was doing, and then people kind of got me out of there when that was it kind of over. It probably would have been all right after that.
Yeah. Gentlemen, I'm going to be closing the stream now. So let's say goodbyes and let's get going.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Lisa, for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right. It's been very good to have you on, and hopefully we see you at some time in the not so distant future.
And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?